Hi everyone, welcome to a new episode of deJÖN. You might be a little surprised. We are recording our first English episode. From now on, you can follow our amazing content in Turkish and English. And before we jump in the episode and introduce our special guest, I have a quick note for you. If you are watching this episode as a video, you can follow along with the Turkish subtitles in YouTube or Spotify video. And for those who want to listen in Turkish, we will also publish a Turkish version where we explain what we're talking about in this episode. So we are trying every possible way to reach more people and share the beauty of the DeFi space with you guys. And if you want to give a response to our effort, we have a small favor to ask to you. Please like, comment, and share this episode if you enjoy it. So, after the short intro, let's get started. Today, of course, we are with Tervo. First of all, welcome, bro. And also, we have very special guests. As you know, we have been talking about perpetual DEX for a month now. Today, we are hosting a great team that aims to become a major player in this market. Thibaut, Biniye, and Varun, who are the co-founders of Hibachi. Welcome to deJÖN, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. All right, excited to be here.
So, before the started, little classic question for you. Even though we know what is the Hibachi, some of our listeners might be hearing about the first time, and we would love to hear in your voice, guys. So, what is Hibachi, and could you briefly share the vision and what the main problem you are aiming to solve?
So, in the most boring way to define it, Hibachi is a perps exchange, right? So that's
So boring.
definition. Now, in terms of what the grand vision is, right? Essentially, you want to become the best exchange in the world. That basically adheres to the core ethos of crypto, which is basically give people, anyone around the world, access to any kind of asset. Basically, make finance accessible to anybody. Do all the fun things that they would like to do with almost no gatekeeping, and basically allow them to go in and out of the exchange. If you look at centralized exchanges, only the big incumbents today, they mostly operate like a bank, right? So they take it, and then you're at the mercy of how they operate. So you essentially want to break that cycle and give people the sovereignty while taking advantage of high fidelity applications, and I think Hibachi aims to be that, right? So
these questions are pretty custom, so I will be going a bit like under the hood. So I wanted to learn more about your personal journey, to be honest. Like Thibaut and Warren, how did you start with this space? How did you choose the perp DEX? What were you doing before? This kind of a bit personal questions, but it will be interesting for our users, our listeners, and it will be interesting for us to learn more about you. Maybe Thibaut, you can start from there.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I think it also speaks to why we're here. I think that's a really kind of foundational question. And on my end, I actually studied finance, in New York, and then I found, very quickly that there's a lot of inefficiency in traditional finance that I wasn't very excited about. So I started looking at other types of marketplaces, and specifically, in DeFi. So Varun and I met at Hashflow, which is kind of what we started working on together back in 2020. And essentially that was like a spot RFQ exchange, right? So we've been working in liquidity for DeFi for years now. And the natural evolution for us was perps, just because it's a very attractive kind of asset class that's also unique to our industry. And it is one of the most elegant ways to design an exchange or a marketplace. So we found, we've been kind of in this exchange world. And then we also saw the upcoming of ZK and that technology really becoming a real solution for building applications on top of it. And that's when kind of the stars aligned. This was around a year ago, and we decided, okay, it's a really good time to build essentially the most performant exchange that also has verifiability and maintains the core ethos of crypto in our industry. So yeah, that's kind of why we're here and how we ended up here. Varun has like a much more kind of like deep dive story around ZK, etc., because he's been also looking into this for a lot longer than I have. So it's also really interesting to get his context on this stuff.
All right.
Nice.
Perfect. So on my end, I think it was a simple story. I think this was kind of funny. So I did a video a couple of weeks ago about how I discovered crypto in a hot tub. So which is kind of So that's what happened, right? So I was before crypto, I was an aerospace engineer.
Wow. Really?
Yeah. So my back, I was like, I was pursuing a PhD at Aerostro, Stanford, and then kind of dropped out to join a company that was building small like CubeSats or satellite systems that do Earth imagery. So I was.
Oh wait, sorry. You are the guy who saw that the rocket is like the lever didn't work or something like that, right? I heard the story. Someone was flying over with a plane. The plane got blown away or something like that. I recently read something on Twitter about this. Was that about you, or you were just?
That was. I wish it was about me. That was not.
Okay.
No. Mine was simple actually. We were just
Okay.
we were building like flight software to launch like small satellite systems into low Earth orbit and then take Earth imagery from there, and then that data is then sold to better do interesting things with it. I will not describe the interesting things, but that's what I was doing before this. But and one day I met this my friend in a hot tub, and he was telling me about Ethereum. Right, that's kind of how I'm like, what, this sounds interesting. Let me dig in more. Right, so that's kind of how my crypto journey began. And ironically, I met my co-founder for Hashflow in the same hot tub, like 2 years later. So there's something about the hot tub. I'm not sure what it is. But anyway, so my crypto journey began with Hashflow. We started that like in 2020, 2021, and I met Thibaut on Twitter DMs. Right, so that's kind of how we decided to collab together. So for those listening, if you guys want to join us, send me a Twitter DM and maybe we'll end up working together. so I think things happen. I found my co-founder on Twitter, so things work.
Yeah.
So
this is the most interesting flip in crypto space I heard. Like my background is architecture, so it's not that interesting. But finance is fine. But aerospace, this is the first time I'm hearing, I believe. Anyway,
I think there's like lots of aerospace engineers in finance. Surprisingly, I met like a few others. In fact, I think we have a group chat of all the aerospace engineers.
There is a group. There's a cabal for aerospace engineers.
There's a cabal. Yes, there's a secret cabal. Not many, but fairly a decent amount. But no, I think for perks, right? So we were thinking about like this whole idea of. So our general design philosophy has been pretty consistent in terms of doing things off chain, like any complex operation, just do it off chain. Don't use L1s. The only reason you need to use a decentralized public blockchain is to verify computation, not to actually run computation. Right? So that's been the thesis, overarching theme across like anything we've been doing. Right? So even Hashflow RFQ, for example, it's all about having RFQ matching done off chain, and then you execute the trade on chain, right? So that's kind of how we did the DeFi provisioning for Hashflow. And at the time, we couldn't really quite build a club that is performant because the technology just wasn't there in 2019, 2020-ish, right? So like one of the core things that powers Hibachi is the whole idea of using zero knowledge proofs to prove the integrity of the order book on chain, and then use public DAs like Celestia to make the state available, right? So, but obviously we post an encrypted state to not disclose. We'll get into that more in the coming discussions. But the idea, that's the core architecture, and that wasn't quite possible in like 5 years ago. If you must have heard this thing, where everybody was talking about like ZK is the end game. Like that's kind of where everything's going to go and converge to. But the tech is at least 5 years out, right? So back in the day, the cost of computation was really high. It took really, really long time to generate proofs. So it was like it's in its infancy. It wasn't quite there where you could run like production-ready apps in a way that we would like it to be, right? So obviously there were teams experimenting back then and who had like pretty decent amount of success, but it wasn't quite something we were ready to go about, right? So turns out 5 years have passed, and ZK is finally at a point where you can actually build high fidelity production ready software that can get verified within like in Hibachi we basically generate proof every 10 minutes, right? So it's pretty fast. So and then you have guys like Celestia that actually makes things easier so we can do a lot more things that weren't possible then, right? So which meant like this is the time to finally build and finally materialize that vision that we had like years back. But be like, okay, one is there is a market for DEXs. People actually finally recognize why decentralized exchanges are valuable. And B, we have the stack that allows us to achieve the kind of performance that we would need to basically cater to not just niche users, but basically go about increasing the total addressable market to everybody who wants to use an app and not think about the whole infra jargon, right? So which is where this is the time to do it, and the stars aligned, So then we look, okay, let's get it done, This is the way. This is you got to strike when the iron's hot. I was sensing the heat, so you're like, all right.
Yeah. So before moving on to our next question, but I want to ask the question to Varun. I saw your viral video, and also that was brilliant. Whose idea was the video?
Which one?
Your pool video. How I can meet my co-founder.
That was Sarah from Succinct. I don't know if she can hear this, but that's a shout out to Sarah. She's a intern at Succinct.
Oh, really?
Yeah. She's a summer interning there, but she's brilliant. I think she's So we just met up in New York, and then she was like, I want to film a video. She said, what do you like generally in New York? I'm like, I like to get bubble tea. So she's like, let's find bubble tea in Times Square, and I want to interview you. I'm like, okay, perfect. Yeah. And then she put them together. She took all these facts. Because I was like, she was like, tell me this whole story. I want to put something together. I'm like, okay. I'm like, I don't know. Like, I don't have any pictures or anything of mine, but let me just give you some snippets and maybe you can spin something together. And then she just came up with that. So it's all her.
Nice.
Yeah, but Badri's background coming from marketing, so he's very into this kind of stuff. I want to expand this ZK stuff a bit more because like we have seen Upstack and like optimistic rollups have been rising, have been like capitulating the market, but ZK rollups didn't achieve anything until like recently. Let's say still like in the rollup space, ZK rollups are quite bad performing, right? But we have been seeing there is a ZK app chain meta is like cooking by Lighter, by Extended. All of these protocols are using ZK for the verifiability and similar structure. You have some interesting stuff actually. I want to point out that, but I want to get your opinion about like, okay, we have been saying ZK is the end game, but because we were expecting ZK Sync is going to do airdrop and we are going to retire. It wasn't about technical for the most of the users. Anyway, but it wasn't performing well until now. People were like questioning about if ZK has a product market fit in crypto. But right now we have been seeing, it seems it's going to happen, right? What do you think?
I mean, it's bound to happen, right? There is the PMF was already there, right? So it was a matter of like we knew what the ZK, what the stack, what the technology could do. It was just a matter of time before building the foundation to kind of achieve, what the dream of, what you want it to be, right? So, and because if you think about blockchains, right, the reason why blockchains and cryptocurrency is interesting, if you go really, really fundamental, Bitcoin, right? So the reason Bitcoin is interesting is because it's for the first time it introduced money that cannot be controlled by a government or any central authority. Right? So you had the first true sovereign money that didn't quite exist before then. Right? No nation state can go and manipulate Bitcoin in any way, in a meaningful way. Right? So you basically have like, essentially, if you think of money as a technology, then before Bitcoin, you had governments around the world who had monopoly on this technology, and then you had to, as a user of the nation state, you were forced to use that technology and borrow money into existence and pay rent for its usage in the form of various taxes and fees and whatnot, right? So that's like the oversimplified version of fiat system. So what Bitcoin did is it kind of changed that system upside down and said, like, you know what, we don't need like a central authority to create money, right? So, and then Ethereum took it a bit, turn it up a notch. It said it's not just money, we can also decentralize the compute itself, right? So because if you think Bitcoin is a massive database that stores every record of every transaction, now Ethereum is using multiple nodes to basically run computation across a decentralized system. Now the thing is, you don't need to run like every complex computation. Like you don't need to run Uber on a decentralized server, right? So that doesn't make any sense. But there are certain applications where simple logic could in fact be decentralized and there's value to it, right? And the most obvious case is finance. Because finance looks complicated, but at the same time, it is once again driven by gatekeepers, right? So, and anytime there's a gatekeeper, there's a monopoly, crypto or the whole decentralized system makes more sense because you're removing the gatekeepers and you're making finance accessible to anybody, right? And which is where turns out finance, despite all the complexity, at the very fundamental level, the primitives are pretty simple. The logic, if you go to the bytecode, to the code level, it's pretty much who pays who, right? And you just have to figure out those conditions are met, and then the settlement happens. And then everything else on top is basically logic that you can, build over that, right? So the thesis here is that, you can basically run all the complex logic. You don't need to run it on a blockchain, but then the final settlement verification can happen on chain, and ZK proofs are perfect for that, right? Because the previous meta was run everything on the blockchain, then you realize, oh, wait a minute, this may not work, right? Then how do we really make it work, right? At the end of the day, what you really want is you want to keep the operators honest, right? You want anyone who's running something, you want to have the checks and balances, so that they're not doing something sketchy, and then if they are, then you at least have the visibility, so you can actually take an action before it's too late, right? So, and I think for that purposes, ZK proofs are like a great application, right? A great way to address those needs because you can run really, really complex logic. You don't need a blockchain for that, but you're essentially expecting the operator to prove the critical states on chain. And if they don't, then you already have your orange flag up, right? So, and if there's something malicious about it, then you can trigger the whole idea of freezing the contract and then getting the funds out and so on. So you sort of avoid the whole debacle or fiasco of FTX or Mt. Gox or any of those guys, right? So it's kind of, you're letting anyone run a centralized application. There's nothing wrong with centralization there. In fact, it's a feature because it allows you to scale, build high fidelity applications for all your end users. But you're adding this layer that allows these operators to be honest, and it's proven by math, right? So, and obviously if they're not opting into that system versus their operators who opt into the system, then at that point, a user can determine which system they would prefer, right? So, but again, I think at the end of the day, from a trading perspective, a user will choose where there's more liquidity. They wouldn't really care about most of these things. But which is why you want to be a platform that is actually built for the users, but then also comes back with these fail-safe mechanisms. So in case if things go wrong, you don't in the past.
Coming to that, actually, Bedri, you can take over here. I have a bunch of other questions, but it might be too technical here. Yeah.
So currently there are 18 listed assets on the Hibachi. And how does your listing process work? And what criteria do you consider before adding a new token? What is the process actually?
Tiba, do you want to talk about it, or do you want me to?
Yeah. I mean, I'll tell you what it is today, and I also we can talk about where we're going to be getting to tomorrow. As it stands, it's essentially community driven. We essentially ask the community what they want to trade, and we list that. We're actually very good at listing quickly and listing anything. But the reason that you see 18 markets on Hibachi and you don't see 150 is because we care about quality over quantity. We essentially, you can either be a 7-Eleven or you could be a Whole Foods, right? And we choose to go organic here. So it's like we are the product that is on our shelf. We prefer to have like the markets that people actually want to trade, versus like, let me just list everything and anything and have this like kind of like eBay versus Amazon thing, right? So that's what it is today. We are only getting better at that. I think we can kind of hint towards our next major feature, which is becoming a core component of DeFi exchanges in general, and that's vaults. But what vaults allow you to do is list also very, very quickly and make it like a community-based decision, right? Because at the end of the day, the vault allows anybody to be part of the liquidity management of the protocol of the exchange. And that's a very elegant way to kind of engage users, right? Because I might not be a trader. I might not know, or I might not want to take a directional bet on Bitcoin for the next 2 months, but I still want to act and be part of the ecosystem. So vaults are a really good alternative for that. So overall, I think to summarize, our listing strategy right now is community based. We just list what people want to trade. We focus on quality, and soon we'll be able to have a really, really good flywheel for our markets.
So nice. I want to ask our next question about leverage sites, and I think you offer up to 15x leverage, right, on Ethereum, Bitcoin, and Sol, and also 5x or 3x other altcoin, right? How do you decide these leverage limits? And also, do you plan to increase the in the future, or this is just for better phrase?
Yeah, I think at the moment it's like still a new platform, right? So we really started scaling like four weeks ago. So the liquidity is still ramping up. So at this early stage, it's tricky to have like pairs and lots of liquidity and also like really, really high leverage. But that being said, the goal is to ramp up on both liquidity, and the moment we have like more liquidity and open interest, we can increase the leverage, not a problem, right? So in fact, we want to have like much higher leverage than what you currently see, right? So I think I was talking about this on another podcast where I said like, realistically, most users will take 25, 30x leverage, right? If even that is the case. But then that being said, 100x leverage is kind of a nice meme that we would strive towards. So that's the 1000x, I guess. 100x is two 2020s. We do 1000 now. So
max leverage.
Yeah.
Exactly. So yeah.
Verdagan, you should use the max leverage, I think. So I want to move the trading fee sites, and your trading fees are very low, and also maker fees are even at 0%, right?
Yeah.
Is this a long-term strategy or just gaining for the gaining users?
No.
So
Sorry.
I mean, the thing about exchanges, and I think a lot of industries, is that a lot of them actually become races down to zero often, and that's actually sometimes a good thing, right? For the user, obviously, it's better. And as an exchange, it also there are ways to operate around that. So at the end of the day, what we care about is like the user having a good experience. And like Varun was saying, right now our liquidity is still ramping up. Our spreads are not the tightest, and our leverage is not the highest. So what can we do to actually improve the user experience? And that's right now fees, right? Like, let's give a better deal. Let's decrease our fees so that users are not on top of kind of adopting a new exchange, also paying like a high premium for that. So long term, it's always just going to be based on optimizing user experience. And really what matters more to us is like maintaining that trading to be top notch. So whether that means 0 maker, 2 bips taker, etc., we want to learn based on data. But we're very comfortable also essentially eventually getting to a point where the protocol is earning through the vaults and the trading fees themselves can be 0%. Like that, I think, is not going to be uncommon tomorrow. Right. So I think we're as an industry, we're getting to that place. And I think, we're very well positioned to be one of those exchanges that can essentially have a really healthy ecosystem with liquidity, with spreads, with the markets, and fees is also part of that larger ecosystem.
So nice. Very nice explanation for us. And I'm going to move to the next question. But Tarvo, is there anything you would like to add or ask?
Yeah, I took some notes. I didn't want to interrupt, but first of all, you mentioned about your bringing the vaults, which is pretty good because like I am an LPer. I really like to LPing on Uniswap V2, V3, and when I did first time, I see the DeFi's actually value proposition because I'm not a technical guy. I cannot get this kind of financial instrument in TradFi either, right? This time, DeFi is allowing me to becoming a market maker without like risking much, and it's insane tools. So after GMX, GLP, HLP, and right now everybody is doing that. It's really good to have. Thanks for that. I think you will have quite a good exposure in that side as well. I just wanted to
look. No, I mean, I think that's a really good point because it's actually something that's very unique to our industry. That any user can become part of the maker side of like the liquidity side of an exchange. Like that's very unique to DeFi. So it's a very elegant way to design an exchange and to also have the flywheel of liquidity and make it accessible to everybody, right? Those yields should be accessible to everybody. So yeah, I mean, I'm also very excited for that product to roll out. It's kind of our number one priority right now. And it's going to be very competitive in the market.
So you are not taking any like maker fees. It's normal sector standard, and taker fees are almost like also zero.
So
it's gasless. Your product is gasless. I know that too. So what is your like main fee generation here? Like, are you taking from tradings somehow? Like you are running your own market making stuff with hash flow? How you are going to generate fees?
Yeah, like revenue, like what's the revenue model for the exchange? Okay. Yeah, that's a good question. So today, obviously, we charge the 2 bips on the taker side, and really that's less so for revenue purposes, but more so to also have a healthy order book, because sometimes what happens when you go 0-0 is that the taker has an advantage because they know like the price, and so as a maker, you're actually you're at a disadvantage, and you can get picked off really, really easily if there's no taker fee. So that's what happens a lot. So actually having a little bit of a taker fee is a very healthy backstop to kind of maintain a very fair order book. But from a revenue perspective, I think today it's that. But tomorrow, yeah, I mean, look, we want to make sure the vault product is as performant as possible. And to be honest, I don't mind earning from the spreads, just generally speaking, from like maker type activities rather than like just artificial fees on top of that. So it's going to depend based on like that product rollout and how we design it, etc. But overall, I think the world is starting to look that way for DeFi specifically. So we're very well positioned to kind of also just like make Hibachi part of that new way to design exchanges.
So I also saw another good feature. It's really interesting. I'm not sure if you have implemented yet, but you were mentioning about flash markets, temps. Did you do that right? Or is it live right now?
Yeah. Yeah. So we have them every now and then, depending on the market. So essentially, flash markets, temp markets, are our way to be very fast and reactive based on the trends of of our industry, right? I think what happens now with meme coins and Solana and stuff, it's like a new coin will come up and it'll die the same day, or sometimes in the span of an hour, right? So as an exchange, you need to be very fast and very reactive. It's like you get rugged in an hour now. Before you used to get rugged in a month. It's like,
6 months.
6 months, yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So the flash markets were a way for us to pretty much have that ability to list very fast, and then when the market dies, it goes away, right? Because it's essentially a deadline to when the market ends. Right now we don't have any because we graduated a lot of our temp markets over to full-time markets, and that's because people actually wanted to trade them, right? When the market's doing good volume as a temp market, we just graduated over to a full-time market, and it just becomes part of our inventory from then. So it's a really good way to offer new markets, new listings really quickly, and also like when they're no longer interesting, roll them back down very easily as well.
Yeah, it seems like a good response to like this other central exchanges or decentralized exchanges who are like listing instantly new tokens. And Warren also mentioned about that we are creating these tokens. We are not trying to like capture every market, but with flash markets, you are actually capturing that. It's like a kind of hyperliquid listing, very very aggressive, and you are like covering that part with the flash market. It seems. Yeah, I really like that. Also, you have escape hatch. I don't know if any other rollup has it. Do you have it in real right now?
So
Oh, well.
I can go ahead. So there is an escape hatch, right? So although there is a slight caveat there, is that at the moment it's slightly permissioned, in the sense that it requires the operator to freeze it, right? But one of the things that we want to do on the decentralization level in the coming months, as we upgrade the contracts, is to have some sort of MPC or decentralizer nodes. There's two things we could do, right? One we could do is have like a set of validators who could freeze the contract and then allow for the escape hash to get triggered. Alternatively, what we could do is create a mechanism where anybody can request force withdrawal, and then if the exchange operator doesn't provide a proof within a certain time window, then anybody can come and freeze the contracts, right? And then the escape hash triggers. So the escape hash is there, but the way it gets triggered right now is pretty centralized. I think I think in the next iteration we need to solve for that. So the reason we chose that at the beginning was because it's an unknown territory. Let's first start, make sure everything else is working, and then we can just address that, right? So
and for those who doesn't know, Hibachi is pretty new product. Actually, they made a good entrance into the space, but it has been like 4 weeks, right? Since you launched the market. Looking for the rewards section here, I see you already like had done a 1 volume challenge. Could you show that, Badri? Also, you mentioned about decentralization. This comes to token, and I leave the mic here to Badri. He has a bunch of questions about points and markets and other stuff.
Yeah. So I want to continue with the airdrop questions, because I know that airdrop farmers are especially interested in the answer to these questions, and that's why I'm asking to this: how does the Hibachi point system work, and also what kind of the benefits do early users and potential airdrop hunters stand to gain actually?
Yeah, so I mean, I think everybody knows points programs now. Everybody has them. So ours is essentially a very straightforward points program, but we also wanted to make it a very good user experience. So that's why you have a complete like rewards leaderboard there. You have the ability to also when you're logged in, you can see your P&L, your points, your referrals. There's a lot of really good data to also just kind of ingrain yourself into the reward system. So we're not shying away from like making a points program good, right? We really want to maintain that and make sure that it's also at the benefit of those early adopters. So one really core component of what we're doing here is kind of what Hyperliquid did. Really, it's like 1 million points a week, period, right? And so as the protocol grows, obviously it becomes a little bit more like harder for users to earn points. But then the people who were there earlier, they benefited the most, right? Because it's a lot easier to earn points on $25 million of daily volume than when we're doing 200, 300 million a day in volume. So it's a very kind of like normal, scalable points program in that sense. I'm very interested also in just generally gamification for incentives, which is why we actually made the effort to build these in-house quests. So when you look here on the left and you see these volume challenges, it's essentially ways for you to boost how many points you're earning that week. So for example, if I'm trading BNB this week and I do over $15,000 in volume, all my points are going to be boosted by 5% at the end of the week. So we do weekly points distributions, again, based on that 1 million a week points total. And that's the design right now. I mean, look, again, it's no secret that like points programs are part of our industry. And so we really want this to be a good experience as well. And also obviously to make sure that we know who joined us early and who is part of the ecosystem early on.
So nice. It's nice explanation for the airdrop farmers and also hunters, I think. And I want to ask you insurance fund, because your docs, I saw the headline for the insurance funds. Can you explain how the insurance funds work, and also how are user funds protected in case of the unexpected events actually?
Yeah, so on the insurance fund, it actually just works as like a traditional insurance fund. Every exchange has it, every exchange that operates on leverage. So, obviously, like we're offering users leverage, so we need to have a fund in the background in case that Hibachi as an exchange goes negative equity. We tap into that. We haven't had to do that before because our risk engine is actually really, really good. But pretty much what happens is sometimes when a user gets liquidated, that liquidation fee actually goes into the insurance fund. So the insurance fund grows over time as like the exchange gets more and more mature. It starts to do more volume. That insurance fund grows with it, and it's meant to really bail out anyone that's like in like a positive or negative equity. So it's part of like the design of the exchange. How do you make sure? Your second question was like, how do we make sure to protect user funds?
Yeah. How are the user funds protected in case of unexpected events or hack, etc.?
Yeah, so Varun can speak a lot about like just generally custody and how we design that side of things, but we don't manage user funds, right? Like we're not a centralized exchange in that sense, right? We're a centralized exchange where like it actually is of value. But we're not like managing user funds, and we can't like go and then go buy something else with it. That's not
FTX.
Yeah.
I didn't want to say it. You said it, not me.
Okay.
But so yeah, I mean, look, it's maintaining kind of the ethos of like self custody with the performance of a centralized exchange, and then we don't have access to those funds.
Yeah, I think he means something like Hyperliquid got some problems with some of liquidations. He means something like that, not reflecting you are like trading with the user funds. Obviously, you are not.
Yeah.
Actually, it's a good topic because we didn't mention yet. It's insane. You are the first provable fair off-chain exchange.
Yeah.
What does that mean? What does that mean, Baron? Please explain.
What's the question? The fair off-chain exchange, you said?
You are the first provably fair off-chain exchange.
Yeah.
Provably fair. Okay.
Yeah.
What is this?
I don't know if, okay. Let me just explain what provable means. Fair is a depending on how you want to go into technicality of the fair definition, because we're going to
I came up, so I will explain a bit more. So provable by ZK and fair by like I know you are like you have an order book, but it's not public. I mean, people can see there are orders, but people cannot know who is trading these orders, right?
Yeah,
This
yeah.
is
So
one thing.
actually, let me dive into it. Like, quickly.
Okay.
What this? Yeah, ignore the technical jargon. Like,
Yeah.
basically, what it's offering is one, it's offering a really fast order book, right? That is on par with the best in class. Like Binance, OKX, that sort of performance. The second thing it's doing is, and for those who want to compare with Hyperliquid, it's nearly 40x faster than Hyperliquid, right? So that's just for reference. And the second thing is your positions are never really public to anybody, right? So meaning that if you post an order, your balances are changing over time. If you use a purely L1 based central limit order book that is like built on chain, then any activity that happens is visible to the entire world, right? So James Wynn, obviously it's a meme, but it's still, you can see exactly everything he does. All his moves can be seen by everybody, right? So now, maybe James Wynn wants the world to see it, right? But then maybe there is others who don't want that. And there's many users, in fact, that don't want that, right? So they don't want anything they're doing to be copied or seen by anybody else. So in this particular case, you can actually do that. You can go place orders, do anything you like, but nobody else is really watching or can see what you do, right? So which is why even when we post the data, which is needed to reconstruct the proof and exit, that is basically encrypted, right? That's why we call it the private DA, right? So basically you're posting an encrypted state on chain so that you know that there is a set of data that exists that can be used to recreate the proof that has been posted, but you don't quite see what's in it. Today, the way it's encrypted and decrypted, it's done by the operator, but there is a new upgrade we're pushing in the coming months that will basically remove that dependency completely. Like each user will have their own keys that they can use to decrypt and make sure that their state is included in the thing. And then you don't really need you don't need to build any set of validators, any of that, right? So I think that'll be a pretty cool upgrade we're going to push. That allows anybody to verify that their transactions were in fact part of the latest proof without needing to decrypt and look at the entire state. So
cool. That's actually pretty cool. I think we don't have that kind of DEX right now. Like we have dark pools, but they don't have order books. They are just like kill or like fill orders mostly, or they are using RFQs on the background. So this will be something new on DeFi space, I believe.
Yeah, I don't think anybody else is doing it, right? So some people claim that they're doing privacy; it'll be there in 6 months, but no one actually has privacy today. So I mean, So we are likely the only exchange who's actually allowing anybody to do this at the moment.
And you mentioned about sorry, Thibaut, go for it.
No. I don't know if you had a follow-up question on that, but I think it's actually like I want to explain why we focused on privacy versus other things first, right? Because while other people were building other things, we decided to really deep dive on privacy and become the first privacy DEX. And it's because I think that there's a lot of volume still in traditional finance or in centralized exchanges that hasn't gone on Hyperliquid, that hasn't gone on these decentralized exchanges, just purely from the fact that they're public, right? Like that is, if you're an institution and you're trading, you can't have public trades. Like it's just impossible, right? That's literally your IP. That's your whole like reason to be is your private strategies, your trading strategies, your positions, like how you're positioned in the market. Like if the finance doesn't run on public trading, it runs on verifiable trading, right? So it's like this privacy layer for us, it actually unlocks the next DeFi adoption cycle. And the people who were still trading on Binance or they're still trading on New York Stock Exchange, they can look at DeFi for the first time and see, oh, actually, I can trade here because I still get the privacy guarantees that I need to be able to get my institution's IP, my trading models, and bring them over to DeFi. So to us, it's a very, very important unlock for the industry. So that's why we're like, let's do privacy first, and then we can kick off everything else from there.
Actually, this is a really great point, and I believe so, because it will probably open new liquidity DeFi, and it's actually about my follow-up questions as well. Like you mentioned about Binance, but we know they have a inner trading desk, right? They can actually see the orders. It's not private at all, but people knows that it can't be trackable. It's not private, but it can't be trackable, but by public users, right? That's one thing they are why they are using Binance or other centralized exchange. And for you, so the data is published on DA layer with encryptions. But how about the sequencer? Is sequencer seeing the trades? Is it something like, because it makes it something like Binance, right? If you can see the trade, the sequencer can trade, basically encounter that.
Yeah. So I think at the moment the operator does see the trades incoming, right? So I think, but the public can't see it, but the operator does have access to it. But it's a double-edged sword. We could potentially just not do any of this, just employ like an end-to-end encryption at the local level, and then just run this inside a T as an example, right? But then what you lose out on is, one, you lose out on scalability and performance, and we are still early stage. If there's an issue with user balance, something else, if you don't know what's in it, we can't help the user in a meaningful way, right? And that's actually worse. So in this particular case, in fact, the traders are okay with that trade-off, where the operator has access to the transaction information so that they can offer support on time, so long as that information is not public, right? So I think that risk, everybody is pretty clear, right? So
with the verifiability, you can verify sequencers, right? Is acting honest. That's actually solving a lot of stuff.
Exactly. But at the end of the day, you have the ZK circuit, which verifies the order book was in fact run correctly. So we can't do things that break the rule of the system. Like
you can still like study their algorithms, but that's a trade-off. If you want to do, you can do. Yeah.
That's the other thing. If let's hypothetically say because we have the information, let's start exploiting our makers and traders by doing something against them, they would know. Like if you do, and if they know, they'll leave and go somewhere else. So it's us hurting ourselves. So maybe the irrational actors will do that, but if you're doing that, you're losing business. So there's
Last 4 minutes. I have 2 more questions, very quick, very answers. Sorry, Badri. I saw that you were flirting with Boundless, but right now I think you are using Succinct. What is the reason? Second, why Celestia over EigenDA or Ethereum? Very quick, if you can manage it.
You want to speed up towards the end. You have to.
Last 3 minutes.
Celestia DA, I mean, they were the most active ones. They had really good tech, right? So, like Mustafa, he's been building this. He has plus they were like super collaborative in terms of what we wanted to build. So we had like a really good relationship with Celestia team for a while, and it's like yes, you can have there's like multiple different providers, right? But at the end of the day, you kind of want to work with people that you vibe with, right? So that kind of so in this case, I guess our stars were aligned in that sense. Like Celestia is a pretty strong technical team, so is Eigen team and so on. But also, I think just generally we work really well with their engineering, and they've been like pretty hands-on with the support that they offer to us. That it made the most sense to go with Celestia. And I think same thing, right? With Boundless and Succinct, they're both really good teams. Like Risk Zero guys probably did like some of the most important contribution to get us to where we are. Like not just Hibachi specific, but as a industry, as a ZK as a whole, right? But Succinct, again, Uma, fantastic. They have like a really, really strong engineering team. And in this particular case, I think Boundless is a public network, rightly, at least building a network of ZK provers and so on, which is nice. But then for our particular use case, we want something more bespoke and custom that we can run in-house. We don't want a provable network anywhere, right? So, and I think, which is why what we did with SP1 is we built our own custom private thing that we run. We don't run this on a network anywhere.
Makes sense.
Because if we run it on network, then everyone else sees the transactions when they compute the proof. We can't have that.
We have 1 minute. That's why we need to finish for now. It was a great episode for us, and everyone who watched and or listened probably got a clear idea of what the Hibachi is and how it works and future plans. I think we couldn't too much speak with the future plans, but it's gonna be great, I think. And also, I really enjoyed this one, and I believe we have made a great start to our English episode. And also, I want to hear your final thoughts. Then we can finish the episode, I think. So we can start Vern or Thibaut. Continue, guys.
Yeah, sure. Just closing thoughts. One, thank you so much for being the first English episode with us. Maybe we'll do our first Turkish episode with you once we learn the language. Give me a few weeks. Maybe a little bit more. But no, I appreciate it, guys. It was really good to chat. And then just check out our OG NFT collection, which is happening in July. We have our fee reduction live. This is a really big month for us, and we're working on like a really nice collection for it. We're always available. Send us a DM on X, and would love to chat.
Yeah, nice. So, Warren, do you have final thought?
No, I think Thibaut pretty much echoed everything I want to say. I think we're on a mission to build the most world-class exchange that adheres to the core ethos of crypto, and we can't do it without your help, right? So I think we'd love to build together. So
thank you again, guys. And my cam is a little problem now, so we can finish now. So thanks to all our listeners, and see you in the next episode, guys. Enjoy listening or watching. See you.
Sounds good. Okay, thank you.